Producer Amy is in the house.
Yes.
He is.
Hi, guys.
Produce, baby, produce.
Hey.
Okay, I think I start every post show with, oh my gosh. I'm going to dive in because there's so much. There's so much. Starting with forgiveness. Like that, I didn't see that in the notes. It might have been there. But,
No, it wasn't.
but it's okay. So, Curt, as you were talking, not Curt Ring. Good one. As you were talking, like it feels really good to hold on to the anger, right? It feels really, there's a lot about that. And then I thought, but there is, and when you said that, that felt really heavy. It didn't feel life-giving. But I thought, okay, there is a time for anger if somebody harms us. So then it's like, for me, it's the difference between anger and grudge. Like, okay, there's a time for anger. Then if we do the work like you're doing, Curt, Pep and I might have a little bit of work to do. Then it's like, okay, that is letting go of not letting go, working through the grudge. That is life-giving. It's all, and then when you said you're sitting at the table with the other person that harmed you and Jesus, and you are mindful of the story that you think that person is telling about you. And then lining that up, putting that next to the story that Jesus is telling us. Now it's hard to let go of this story, but that is the life. If we
right. Well, and it's hard to let go because there's a part of me that's like, well, if I let go, I mean, one of the things that holding onto the story does is that it keeps me alert. It helps focus my attention. It helps me pay attention to, like, when is anything like this going to come back around and tag me again? Like, it's protective in that sense. It's keeping me alert to that.
Right.
Instead of, but it's also energy I got to burn to maintain it, to hold it. And I continue to maintain the story that I'm telling, not just about the other person, but primarily about me.
Right.
And that's not the story that Jesus is telling. So I have to give that up. And that's hard to do. It's really hard to do. And I hear Jesus acknowledging, yep, this is hard to do. You have to decide if that's the life you want to live. Right. Or if you want to live with freedom. Right.
And like, to your point, Pep, when you were saying, okay, that takes, we only have so much energy. So if we're spending it on that, then it's not this cut and dry, but then we have less energy to focus on beauty and see the goodness. Yeah. So then to Frank Lloyd Wright, and I thought, okay, he's telling stories. He's like, when the engineer said, no, we need a little more metal, and he's like, no, we don't, because I can't really be bothered by that. He has to be telling a story and able to make that decision.
Totally.
And okay, so he was criticized for a number of things, like, as you said, Pep, the roofs are flat. That is not super conducive to, like, there are leaks and structural issues, and he was criticized for, like, not paying attention to the function, the fact that it's a functional piece of art. Like, someone's going to live in it. People are going to be in it. And he didn't want to be bothered by costs. Like, I was reading one article that concrete, he was like, concrete for, right, Pep? Like, the concrete for the foundation is really pricey. And so we could cut back on that. Like, I don't want to live in a house where somebody cut back. Were you going to say something, Pep?
They did have to come in and do a $3.3 million, where they had to skewer everything up again and all that kind of stuff. Now, I will say something that's interesting about the form over function thing is when he thought about designing a room, he thought about what was going to be happening in that room. Like, what is this room for? What are they going to do in this room? And he designed it around that. So that part of it, the experiential part of it, of function, he thought of. But the roof might leak, and
Okay, can I pause for a second? Pause for a second and just say, this really sparks in me this sense of our asking in our physicality, what role is this going to play? What role is my presence? Like the presence of, what role is the tone of voice that I offer to the room? What role does my gaze play? What role does my body language play? What role does my timing and tempo of my responses play? How am I in my very presence an agent of the creation of beauty in the room, just by coming into it? And not by all the standard trappings of how we judge beauty because of what we see on the cover of Vogue or GQ, but the whole notion that my very presence is facilitating the emergence of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, all the rest. That like that whole that gable house, Pep, that you were talking about, where you have one piece in the center, and out of that piece comes all these other things. And for us to imagine that we are that object, that when we come into the room, the room is then going to have the opportunity to reflect that kind of beauty because of what we ourselves are bringing into the room. Long before we have offered all of our wit and our wisdom and our humor and our intelligence and all the things that we think, that I'm working so hard to offer to people to make sure that they think that I'm smart enough and this enough and that enough and so forth. I'm just bringing myself. And it's difficult for us to do that if I am not allowing myself to be loved, if I am burning so much energy holding my grudges, I'm burning energy doing that, I'm not going to be curious about, how will I be an object that facilitates the emergence of beauty in the room when I enter it?
Yeah. You say anything to Curt and he could turn it into gold.
We just come up with some things to put on the table, and then
exactly.
Mr. Magic over there, poof, brings the, what is it, fairy dust or whatever.
I'm a neuro fairy.
Neuro fairy.
Add
that to your resume.
It's a t-shirt. All
right, so take 5 next week. That's a t-shirt. Yes, that's it.
I'm a neuro fairy.
I'll wear a shirt that says neuro on it, no matter what it says.
Yes. Take 5 next week.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Bye,
see ya.
Thanks.